A very good morning to all the participants today, and I welcome you to the second day, first session for today. And it's a wonderful morning with a wonderful weather here in Nagpur. So I hope the same everywhere, right? So today, in today's session, we are going to cover three important things. One is how do we import the files into R. The second that we are going to see is the sample function in your dplyr package and how that can be used. And the third that we are going to see is a wonderful operator in R which helps us to perform a series of operations in an easier way, and that name of the operator is your pipe operator. So these are the three topics that we are going to cover in today's session. So let us start off first with the importing the files into R. So there are various types of files which can be imported into R. They can be Excel files, they can be your data tables in the Word files in the form of a text. They can be CSV files. We can even import the SPSS files as well. So there are various files which can be imported into the R. The normal procedure remains the same. It is only about the functions that you are using may vary depending on the type of file that you want to download. Now, in order to import the data from Excel and the others, we need to install two important packages. One is your read Excel for reading the Excel files, and the second that we have to download is your GData. So it is GDATA. So you need to install these two packages, and I think we have already covered how you can install the packages, right? So in that case, you have to install two packages for importing of your data. One is your GData and the other is your read Excel. The normal way or the procedures in which you have to import the file. So for using the Excel file, we use the command read_Excel, and in the double quotes and parentheses we need to first mention the path name where the file is stored, followed by the name of the file, followed by the extension of that particular file. So whether it is an XLS file or whether it is an XLX file. So in this case, this is one of the format in which you can import the data. Now what remains as a question is, from where will you get the path name, right? So in this case, what do we basically do is, wherever your file is stored, we try to set that as our working directory, right? So in that case, R already has its own default working directory. So if you don't want your files to be saved there, but you want to pick and choose from the location of your own choice, in that case you can go ahead and set your own working directory. So this will just give you the, and when you use the command get working directory, so get wd and parentheses and enter, so that gives the entire path where your files are saved. So you can directly copy paste that particular path when you are calling the files to be used. For importing a CSV file, again the format remains the same. The only thing is, here we are using the function read.sav, right? So for the Excel it was read_Excel, and for your CSV file it is read.csv. For importing a text file, it is basically like you can there might be some tables which are there in your Word file and you want to do it for any of the data analysis. So in that case, you have to copy that Word file, save it in the notepad and save that, paste it in notepad and save it as a text file. So in that case, that particular table can also be imported into R, and we can do the concerned analysis using that particular text file as well, right? So now we will be moving back to our R console to work on importing our files in R, right? So now here we are back to our R Studio. Now you have to remember one thing: whenever you're making use of R, all the packages and the other things which you want to use, where these functions are embedded, so it is important to call those particular packages over here to tell R that these are the packages you are using, so that your functions can perform better. So now from the library, since my Excel and GData is already downloaded over here, so in this case, from the library you have to first read Excel, then from the library we will read GData, right? So these are the two things that we have called for and we want to read it, right? Now we have to first check of what is the working directory. So first let us see what is the working directory by default which is set here. So it's in C drive users HP documents. Now I want to change this particular working directory to the location where my files are saved. So in that case you just have to go to session, set working directory, choose working directory, and then you can go to the location where you have saved your files. So let me say I want to use this particular files and just click on OK. Now this gives me, you have set now this as your working directory. So let us see if this has been set or not. So get working directory, enter, right? So now in this case if you see your path has been there, and now if you go to this files tab you will see all the files which are there in that particular folder. So I have this input.xls file, I have input.txt file, I have a bank customer.csv file. So I have these three files. Now in order to read my particular Excel, so I have to use the command read underscore Excel. This is the path which you can copy. So I will paste slash, the name of my Excel file over here is input and its extension is XLS, and then I click enter, right? So now my table appears over here. So this is one way in which you can read your files. Or the second way that you have is just click on this particular, suppose this is my text file I want to open. So just click on this. So you get your input text over here. So directly you can go and see from here as well. Or the third option that you have now, since we have already mentioned this to be our default directory. So now over here you need not mention the path. So I can directly say read dot, for a CSV file it's read.csv file, and I want to read bank customer dot CSV, so it should be in, sorry, is there in your double quotes, right? So my file is also being read, because since I have already set that to be my working directory, I need not mention the path every time that I want to do. Now over here if you click on this data set as well, it gives you two options, view file and import data set. So you can also import the data set from here. So just click on import data set, right? So it already gives you the entire file URL and everything, right? So now in this case it has selected that particular data preview, and I will just click on import. So it does all the functions, and now I can even see my file over here. So this is my bank customer, which has 4,521 observations and it has 15 variables. So this is another way that you can import. Or else you also have a third option. You go to the environment tab over here. You have an option called as import data set. So whether you want to import it from Excel, SPSS, Stat, or from your readr, or from your other options. So you can also import your data set from here. Suppose if it's an Excel file, so I'll just click from Excel, right? And I can browse from here and go to the file URL where it is saved. So like input is my file URL, open, it retrieves the data, so it gives my preview data here, and I can click on import. So now this is giving me this particular data as well. So these are different ways in which you can import the data. The only thing that you have to be sure about is the function you are using. If it is an Excel, it is read_Excel. If it is a CSV file, then it is read.csv. And if it is a table in the form of a text, then we use the function as a read_table. Right? So these are the certain things that you have to keep it in mind. Now in this case, let us come back to some of the activities that we want to do using this bank customer file. Right, so we have this bank customer over here. Right, so we have one criteria as age. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to group this age into 4 different categories. So let me show you what would be our categories. Right, so I'll just write down this category so that it is much clearly visible to you all. Right, so we are going to create 4 categories over here. The first is all those people who are less than 22 years. They would be clubbed as young adults. Right, second, all those who are between 23 to 41, they would be clubbed as middle aged adults. The third one, all those who are between 42 to 60, they would be clubbed into as old adults. And the fourth category is all those who are greater than 61, so they would be categorized as seniors. Right, so in this case I am going to make use of a function over here. Right, so we'll first try to find out what is the minimum age in this data set and what is the maximum age in this particular data set, and then we would be carrying forward as how we can categorize it. Right, so let me just decrease this size, clear it. Right, now in this case let me first call for the functions. Now the functions that we are going to use here is the data manipulation, finding out mean, minimum value, maximum value, transformation of age into a new categorical variable. So any data manipulation technique, in that case we have to make use of a dplyr package. So in this case we will have to call for dplyr package. Right, so my dplyr package is called. The other way to click and see whether they are active or not, you can just go to the packages section and just type dplyr. So and click on this checkbox so that it gets included automatically over here. So until unless that package is selected, those particular functions will show an error. So it is very important to see that that particular packages are selected. So even if you see an error which says that function not found, so it basically means that you have not chosen the concerned package in which that particular function is embedded. So you have to ensure whenever you find this error to go and check your packages and see whether the concerned package has been selected or not. Right, so we have called for the library. Now the first thing we want to find out what is the maximum and the minimum age. So I want to find out the maximum age of the bank customer age. Right, so what is the maximum age over here is 87. So similarly we will also find what is the minimum age. So the minimum age is 19 and the maximum age is 87. Now we are going to create a variable data frame called as age category. Right, so we are going to create a variable age data frame age category less than equal to. Right, so now over here we are going to use the transform function. So transform is transforming your age into your categorical variable. So in this case transform, right, the name of the data set that you are going to use. So we are going to use the bank customer. Right, next what is going to be the name of the new variable? So how are you going to categorize it? So let us say we keep the name of the new variable to be your generation. Right, so now we have to pass, we can say that first either it will check whether the age is less than 22. then it will say that it's a young adult. If that particular condition doesn't suffice, it moves to the second condition, that is whether the age is between 23 to 41, then in that case it becomes your middle aged. If that condition also doesn't suffice, it goes to the third condition. So it goes in a loop way. So in order to use that particular thing, the function that you have is called as if else, right? So we'll first check with the first condition whether your age is less than 22. So if your age is less than 22, you are an young adult, right? So now if this condition is false, again a second if else, whether your age is less than 41. So in that case you should become a middle aged adult. If not, again false, so again it will be a new if else statement. If else the age is less than 60. So in that case you become an old adult, and if this condition doesn't suffice, by default you are a senior, right? So this is how we have created this particular age category, right? Now if you see, a new data frame has been created over here by the name of age category. So if you click on this data set, so you go to the last column, so you find that a generation has been created as according to the middle age. So the first one is a middle age. So let us check with his age. His age is 30. So it is between 23 to 41, and that is why now he has become a middle aged adult. So in this case you can convert a ratio scale into a categorical scale as well. Now we want to check, you have an variable over here as P outcome. So there has been a campaign which has been run, and they want to these are the outcome column, tells whether that campaign has been successful for that particular customer, or it has been not successful, or is it unknown. So this is a particular column which tells us whether that particular campaign that the bank was running was successful because the customer has taken that particular offer or that particular product which was given to him. So in this case we basically want to test the kind of a relationship between your outcome and generation. Now outcome is again a categorical variable, generation is also a categorical variable now, and we want to find out if there is any kind of a relationship between the two of them. So in this case we need to prepare something called as a crosstab or a contingency table, and we want to see the relationship between the two of them. So in that case we can construct a two-way frequency table using the function table, right? So in this table what are the things we want? We want age category, from the age category data frame we want to take generation, and from the same age category we want to take P outcome, right? So we want to create a table of this data age category data frame using the columns generation and P outcome, right? So now this gives me a two-way table. So these are my four categories. So these are my four categories in campaign outcome, and these are my four categories of an age adult. So how many are failures, how many are success, how many are unknown. So now based on these particular tables we can reach to certain conclusions of who are performing better. So young adult, if you can see, is very few in number. So in that case there has been one failure and one success. So in the same way we can now use this data to make a corresponding analysis, right? Right, now this is all that we have with respect to importing of files and how can you like convert and make groups. So a lot of things that can be done, we were doing one by one, so we'll come across a lot many things that we want to do. And now next that we move on to is a sample function in the dplyr package. Now if you remember, we had done something of a simulation activity where we had used that sample function, where we had to pick 3 cards from the deck and put the replacement as true. So that is, every time you had to pick cards, so you had to be replaced and then pick another card. So we had made use of the sample function. Similarly, there are 2 sample functions which are also available in the dplyr package. They are called as sample underscore n and sample underscore frac. So sample underscore n is going to extract fixed number of rows from your data set, right? So that means now over here we have a customer or a bank customer data set. So now there are 4521 observations. Now I want to randomly take out 10 data sets from there, or randomly pick 20 data sets from there. So in that case I can make use of this sample underscore n function. The second one that you have, sample underscore frac, this basically is going to extract a fixed fraction. So that means if I want to extract 10% of my data set, so that means out of this 4521 variables observations, it will extract 10% of that. So that means it will return me back 452 data sets which have been chosen at random from this 4521 observations, right? So in this case, if you want, and this, what is the usefulness of these particular cases? Now generally it is very useful, these functions are used very widely if you want to arrive at standard errors or confidence intervals, or getting to have an idea of how your stable is your result. So if you are doing a probability of doing sampling collection and then running a sample function on that, so again you want a random sample, again you want, so you can like have multiple random sample sets selected and do analysis to derive at better standard errors. So in that case we make use of these particular functions. So let us use one, sample underscore n. Since we have already called for the dplyr package, we need not call it back again, right? So sample function, so in this case I want to extract it from the bank customer. So the first thing is you have to say the name of the data set, and second, how many values do you want to extract. So suppose I want to extract 10 values, enter. So now this gives me 10 different random values which has been collected from there, right? Next, if I have to use sample frac, so sample underscore frac, again the bank customer data, and I want to extract 0.1, that is 10% of this data sets, right? So then in this case it has 10 plus 442 more rows, so that is total of 452 random data sets which has been collected from the given set of observations that you have. So this is how you can make use of your sample underscore n and your sample underscore frac function if you want a random sampling out of your data set. So we can make use of these are available in your dplyr package. Now let us move to learn about a powerful Uber operator which has just changed the way we do things from now. It's called as the pipe operator, right? So let me just first show you the symbol of a pipe operator. So pipe operator is generally written as percentage symbol, greater than, and again a percentage symbol, right? So this is what is called as your pipe operator, right? So this is your pipe operator which is represented as percentage, greater than, and again a percentage, right? So now we can place this operator between a different set of operations to connect them, all the operations together. So that is, if I am performing a series of operations and I want to interrelate it with each other, or a set of operations, so I need to connect them together. In that case I make use of these particular pipe operator, right? So in this case now let me say I want to take my Star Wars data group. and Star Wars is of course we had used it in the previous one during the data manipulation. We are making use of that same 5. Now if suppose I want to first create a data set where I have done the grouping according to the species, right? So in this case I will have to then assign it to a data frame. So I assign star dot species and I use the function group by, then followed by the name of the data set and the variable according to which I want to do the group, right? So this is the name of the data set and this is the column by which I want to do the grouping, and then click enter, right? So you find that a star species has been created over here. Now I want to summarize the characters mass, right? So different types of species, I want to now summarize their mass and find out the number of observations per species, right? So I want to summarize the characters or the species by their mass, mean mass, and find out what are the number of observations per species. So in this case I will make use of star.smr. So summarize, so I have used a star.smr. I want to summarize. First use star dot species, right? So because over here I have done the grouping, so that is why I am going to use the data set star species. Count, I want the count, right? So count according to average mass, I want the display of average mass which is equal to the mean of mass. Na.rm is equal to true. That means it will not consider the Na or the missing values during the calculation of mean, right? So in this case I want to summarize from the star species data set the count of the mass of the species using the formula of mean. So they would be stored in this new variable called as average mass, and then just click on enter, right? So this has been done. Now I want to filter and display only those species which has a count which is greater than 1. So I'll use the function filter. Now star.smr, because this is going to save the average mass values, right? So in this case star.smr, where the count we have written as n should be greater than 1, right? And then just click enter. So now this is giving me the grouping by species, the number of count of each of these species and their average mass. And now this is counting only those which has a count greater than 1, right? So now we have performed these 2 to 3 operations over here, and for performing this we had to create 2 new data frames, star species and star smr. So now creating these data frames is a cumbersome job, and second, we know that these data frames are not going to be used further for any kind of an analysis. So saving these data frames doesn't make any particular sense, and that is where we make use of the pipe operator. So the pipe operator helps you to connect these things together and present it as one. So you are going to unite these operations, and you are also going to tell R the process or the flow of your operations that you want. So now we'll just work on one of the examples. So I say first we have to call the data set. So we are going to use now the same thing what we did in 4-5 steps. Now we are going to do it in a single step. So I want to call Star Wars data set. So that is my first job. So now I connect it using a pipe operator. Next, what we had done, we had grouped it by species. Now since we have already called the data set, so we need not mention the data set again when we are using these functions over here. So I will just write group by species. Why? Because we have already called the Star Wars data set over here. So it is going to follow a linked operation. So it knows that it has to group it by species. So once I have done this grouping by species, again another pipe operator. Now next what am I trying to do is summarize, right? So again summarize. Now over here I need not call my particular data set, so this will use the same data set of your Star Wars. So I'll just copy paste this entire, only the function summarize. So you want to summarize the count of average mass, a new variable which is equal to the mean of mass of all the species grouped together, right? And right, so next again star pipe operator, percentage greater than percentage, and now I want to say that filter count greater than 1. So I have only called the data set once. I have now called it only by functions. I have not created any of my particular new data frames for it, and I have combined it all of them together using the pipe operator, and then you just have to click enter. Right, so filter count greater than 1. So now it is giving me the same result, but what was done as creation of data frames, now I have combined all these functions together and it has given me the same output. So it is like the pipe operator is just like putting your data on a conveyor belt, having many operations to be done one after the other. So basically these pipes let us take the order in which we think that the operation should function and apply it using the same data operator, where you have to use the percentage greater than and percentage symbol. So this is a pipe operator. So in this R can string multiple functions together by incorporating this particular pipe operator. So this is a very, very useful tool when you are doing a set of functions which has to be done. So instead of every time creating one after the other data frames, we make use of this pipe operator. So it's the coolest operator in your R, and it is really, really very helpful. We will of course be using this pipe operator in our further sessions as well. So with this we come to the end of the first session of day 2, and before we close down, as usual, let us end it on happy coding. So till the next session, I wish you all a very, very happy coding. Please keep practicing, and in case of any errors, doubts or any kind of confusions, feel free to share whatever is your doubt, so that we can help you across to have a better hands-on practice onto your R. So thank you very much till we meet in the next session.